Alrighty, so to begin today's class, we are going to go over Starlight. We are going to learn how to read the music of Starlight before we play. So as we do this, we already know the history of the song, we know some of the high and low sounds in Starlight, and we already know some basic facts about reading music. So let's put this all together. So the very basic history of Starlight is that it was a song that reflects the deepest desires and wishes made by an ancient group of people on falling stars in the sky. So in these early times, people did not know about the stars, and even though we have more information on stars now and we know that they are some type of light, people still like to sentimentally wish upon a star. So when we look at high and low sounds, we first started with a line. So that line in music tells us that we have something that can go above and below it. And so once we understood that, we took this line and put high sounds above the line and low sounds below the line. And as we moved further in through the units, we have also discovered that we have two specific note names, G and E. And we have labeled G as our high sound in music and E as our low sound. So instead of just putting high above and low below, we are now taking those letters G and E and replacing them on the line and putting G above the line and E below the line. We are now looking at music where we can find those notes of G and E. So our basic music reading facts, we first start with, when we read music, we know to read music from left to right, just like we do with a regular book. And once we start reading that music from left to right, we can also see, just like a book, how our music has a title. It has a staff. This is where the music is written. This is where we write music notation. We also have music notes that go on the staff. We have a time signature that tells us how many beats there are in our music. We also have a measure. This is where we put a group of music notes. And then we also have a bar line in our music that will separate those measures. So all of these basic reading music facts are really important for us to remember as we go to learn how to read and how to play Starlight. So what we're going to learn right now is how to identify these two music notes, and later on in the lesson you will learn how to play G and E with Starlight. So when we look from high to low sounds, we then took that line and we would place notes, music notes, above the line for high notes and low notes below the line to make sure that we knew that they were lower. So now when we look at our notes in the bottom part of the screen, we see that we can have notes that are high and then low, or they can be the opposite. They can start low and go high. So whenever we have these notes, we had a line. We have only worked with one line, above or below, but now we're going to add something to it. So we started with the line and the notes that went above or below it, but now we're going to create spaces so that these notes are not just above or below a line, but rather they're sitting in a space. So in order for us to do that, we have to put a box around this line, and that will actually give us 3 more lines. That'll give us a line here, here, and here, creating spaces for these notes to sit in. So now we have gone from 1 line to 3 lines and 2 spaces. And now the notes in the upper portion of the screen are sitting in spaces. Now, if we want to create a staff, we have to start with that first line, add our box that we just did, and now we have 3 lines, but we know that our staff has 5, so we have to add 1 more. And because of this, we now have our staff that has 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lines. So we have gone from 1 line to 5 lines on our staff with 4 spaces. So this is our staff here. It has 5 lines and 4 spaces. Now we are getting into music notes that can sit above or below the line in a space. We can also, the cool part about the staff is that we can have high and low in 2 different ways. The first way is that something that we're getting used to is a little bit new, that we can have high and low sounds on the line. Before we've only seen it as above or below, but now we can see them on the line. And what that looks like is like this. We have a high sound on the line, and we have a low sound on the line. So if you have a high sound that is on the line, you will have a low sound that'll be on the line below it. Okay? And when we keep going, what we've seen before, we now find that we will have a high sound in a space, and we can have a low sound in a space in between the lines. The space is the in between the lines. So if you have a high sound in a space, you will have the low sound in the space below it. Okay? So the 2 high and low sounds that we have had are only G and E. So we've gone from high and low sounds with a line to now noticing where G and E are on the staff. That's what our focus is today for this video, is to realize that G and E are now on the staff. So G can be a quarter note on the staff. So it can be a quarter note, or it can be 2 eighth notes. We can also have E on the staff, but G is on the second line, and E is on the first line of the staff. So E can be on the line as a quarter note, and E can be on the line as 2 eighth notes. Again, G is on the second line of the staff, E is on the first line of the staff. I hope this video helps, and you'll be learning how to play later on in today's lesson.